Hi, everybody. It's James. I am the co-founder of Masami. In English, it's truly beautiful, means truly beautiful. It's all about our clean, vegan, premium, luxurious hair care brand, which is infused with some amazing hydrating ocean botanicals that have been around thousands of years from the oceans and the depths of the bays of Northeast Japan. So I want to share all that out with you guys today.
Hello, Out Bosses. Rhodes Perry here, and welcome to this week's episode of The Outs Entrepreneur, a weekly podcast where I get to interview today's most inspiring LGBTQ bosses crushing it in business. And on today's show, we've got James, who is the founder of Masami. So James, welcome to the show. It's very nice to have you. And you're joining us all the way from the Big Apple. So nice to have the East Coast connection here. So a little bit about your background for folks that are not familiar with you. With his utterly impressive 25 plus year career history as a beauty maven who is obsessed by achieving absolute perfection. James oversaw several major launches as head of creative services, producing the photo shoots and casting for many iconic brands, including Clairol, Natural Instincts, and Revlon, to name just a few. James decided to use his knowledge, experience, and talent to help models frustrated by the damage continuously done to their hair with no real solutions in sight, and set off on a 10-year journey to create the clean, hydrating formulations that are now Masami. So that's the background, James. And I'm curious. I want to hear your story.
Super, super happy that I could be here today to share all about Masami, but also, being gay, being out. Let's just start off with this. I'm born American, raised in Europe, in Rome and London. So ton of culture. All the schools I ever went to, there was a ton of diversity, so many different cultures, and so much value in all of that growing up as a kid. From Rome to London. And in London, I went through one of the best schools outside the United States. For my education, it was fantastic because of the languages that you were allowed to study, and it was mandatory to study 2 or 3, otherwise you wouldn't graduate. And I also had an opportunity in my 11th grade to an internship at Harvey Nichols in London, which was it's a beauty store, and it's very high end, and it's similar to Bergdorf Goodman or Neiman Marcus in the United States. And that was in PR and advertising. And I already knew that was a place I wanted to be in PR, and that was my world. My world was in details of executing major runway shows for them and casting the models and bringing together the collections for the press from all the top designers around the world to review. And speaking Italian, they sent me to Milan to see the shows. So it was a great opportunity. And I lived in London for many years, and then I really wanted to be in New York. So there was a big opportunity for me to come back to New York, to the United States. And I was like, where would I live? I've spent over 20 years of my life living in Europe and traveling across the globe to multiple countries in the Middle East and a couple in Asia. And I really, really, really was going to grow my roots in New York. And I got a job, as a assistant casting person. That was the job, freelance at $9 an hour for Clairol. And Clairol, as we know, is the wonder bread of America when it comes to color and care, hair care. And I was fascinated by detail, by cosmetics, by skin, by hair. It fascinated me. I would always look at it. And when I landed this role, I took it because it was just something in a major corporation where I'd have an opportunity to grow, I thought. But I didn't know how fast I would grow. But literally within the first 2 years, I became the head of creative services for photo shoot production and casting globally for a business that was going from, in the 90s, early 90s, going from 500 million to 1.8 billion. So the focus of the mission of Clairol was to build the brand globally and to create as many different hair color lines and hair care brands as we could and restage all the existing ones, which we did. So I spent a ton of my time daily putting together photo shoots in salons with our research and development staff, marketing staff, hairstylists, and colorists from both the brand side as well as the stylist industry side of the business. We would work in different salons all the time. And I was always around hair and always around different ethnicities. Love diversity. And We were in the midst of bringing this company global, so we needed to bring out a lot more of our Black models, a lot more Latin models, a lot more Asian models, a lot more South African models in different markets where the company was pivoting and where everybody was going in beauty anyway. But we were ahead of the times. So my job was to bring in as many diversified looks and hair textures and hair types as possible, and to be able to sell that through with the creative directors to marketing so that we could go off and shoot 58 Shades of Nice and Easy, for example. So I'm really actually fundamentally proud of being one of the people that was a champion back then of bringing ethnic models into the forefront in beauty on hair color lines. And that was a coup. And we did this with our professional side. We launched many different hair color lines in the professional side that were all about different ethnicities, which is fantastic, not just Caucasian and not just blonde hair or brunettes, so it was fantastic. In that, I worked in salons and on set with hairstylists, and dry hair was always an issue. And all the products back then seemed to be products that were driven towards fine hair, thin hair, coarse hair, thick hair, super hydrating, moisturizing, nourishing. Nothing really lasted that long. A shampoo would clean, but at the end of the day, your scalp was dry because you were using sulfates. That was the given. So sulfates, parabens, and phthalates, and all the bad things back then were I had an eye for looking at hair color after we would color and bring them back to their natural color again. It was my responsibility as a member of Clairol to take care of them and to maintain their hair. So I learned through that how to bring them products that actually worked, and what would give them longevity for conditioning, what would give them better shampooing without having the squeakiness and the dryness. And certain models had different issues depending upon what their hair was like. So I learned a hell of a lot over a period of years, and I went on after Clairol to go with our VP over to another major company that was owned by the same company Clairol was owned at Matrix, and worked on a ton of different brands and launching new brands with them in photo shoot side of things and in the education side of things, and still learning and growing in my experiences and just having fun with what I was doing. And it was great to see so many different accomplishments with so many different brands growing across so many different markets, substantially speaking. And I knew that I was very good at what I was doing. So about 30% of the models became well-known either actresses or TV stars. I remember giving them their first jobs in beauty, and they range from, I don't know if I should say it, but I mean, they range, there's so many of them. We turned Linda Evangelista, we colored her 4 times in 3 days, on Ultress. We contracted her in, and I was behind the scenes working with the casting booker over at her agency and let the bigwigs talk, but we fed them the ammunition on what to do and how to get her. Tremendous relationships across the entire industry, from agents, model agencies to hair and makeup photography agencies, where you were able to immerse yourself in a whole different world of creativity. But at the same time, the mission was to bring to life beautiful hair color and hair care, and to diversify and to grow the markets. Yeah. And we did brand-wise. Well, many names come to mind, but I mean, girls that I worked with firsthand were like Bridget Moynihan and Angie Harmon, their first jobs. And I just smile because I remember the days. And, Orbe would do hair, and he was a fantastic hairstylist, and God bless his soul, rest in peace. And Frederick Fakai and so many others. And it was a wonderful time. But going back to what we did, I learned that hydration was a huge issue. And I really wanted to come up with formulas of consciously focused ingredients that are naturally derived, that can work from moisture, nourishment, and breakage to help breakage from UV protection perspective, and also for emulsifying, which is helping the ingredients to work together. They need to be of lightweight and etc. And I wanted to bring hydrating qualities. So I met my husband of 4 years, 15 years ago. His name is Masahiro. Masami is Masa. Masa is my muse. He's also my husband. He's the one who inspired me and took me to Northeast Japan, where in a small fishing village all the way in the North Pacific, where his family goes back 9 generations. The bays there are so beautifully crystal clear. And Japanese tradition and culture is in their farming. Farming isn't just the land, it's the oceans. So every single part of the waters surrounding Japan, it is nurtured, it is nourished, it is manicured, it is looked after. Why? Because all of those areas provide vitality for day-to-day life. Seaweeds go back thousands of years, 4 billion years. But, when the earth was formed when we had an ozone layer and algae in the waters could actually form because the ozone started to become strong enough and in the right leveling so that seaweeds can begin to flourish. Algae could grow. They did. And in Japan, I know for sure that Makabu, which is the lower part of wakame, Makabu is our main ingredient. It's our hero. Not just because of its benefits. We found it there because it grows in the bays of Otoshi, Wate, and the smaller bays up north. This region is where the three waters of the world collide together. It's where the Sea of Japan climbs over under Hokkaido, and the North Pacific hits, and the Arctic comes down. So you got these nourishing waters where the fish are just in an abundance, and also they are diversified. And then you have ocean botanicals of all kinds and shellfish that just flourish. So the fishermen plant Makabu out in the bay in October, and then it's farmed out the following year in spring, somewhere between the end of March and the beginning of May, or the end of May. It just depends upon the climate. But Foikodan, which is the inner workings of what Makabu is, it's a beautiful sponge-like ingredient that just sucks into the hair and hydrates. And it creates softness and manageability as well. And it shifts your hair to become much more hair-like, and it moves. So even if you have coarser hair, it'll help it. And I knew all this, but there's no doubt, it was the consumer that had to review this. So we launched last year, February 2020. And Masa had brought me to Japan like 10 years ago. And I started playing with Makabu, and getting it into the United States wasn't a piece of cake at the time, but I did. And I had a chemist in Chicago that I was working with because she was just a really, really down-to-earth, extremely smart individual that is real, the real. And a ton of experience in her field, but she wanted to listen to me. And she wanted to understand what I wanted to create. So I began putting together super hydrating ingredients, which were mainly, our focus was on the hydrating qualities of Makabu, which the lower part of the wakame seaweed, because it's filled with over 20 minerals and 11 odd vitamins. And the benefits, scientifically speaking, from university studies in Japan by doctors and scientists go back to the 50s, where they've studied it, and the qualities of what the inner workings of Makabu, which is slimy gooiness. Not only have the Japanese been eating this for over 3,000 years, but over 35 to 40% of the population eat it daily now. We eat it here in New York. My husband does, but I actually consume the powder because I have it. Because when it's harvested out of the waters in May, it is washed on the shores, and then it goes to our seaweed manufacturer that Masa brought us to. And we developed a partnership 3 years ago with them when Lynn Power and Bill Power came in to fund the creation of what we know today to be Love Masami.
Yeah.
Because I used to work with Bill Power in advertising. So after years of being in the world of photo shoot production and hiring of top photographers that were brilliant at what top photographers, but not just top, but brilliant at what they do as far as lighting and the hair and makeup people for 15, 20 years, I went in advertising. It was a break. It was another world, and it was a lot of fun. And I met Bill Power, and he introduced me to his wife like a year later. So it was August 2018 that we got together, and they said, we'd love to do something with you because you have 4 incredible products. You have a shampoo, a conditioner, a shine serum, and a styling cream. All of them perform incredibly well, James. How did you make that happen? And so they met Masa, and thus we began.
Okay, so this is really fascinating. And one of the things I want to kind of dissect a little bit for the listeners is how you were able to take this big idea, right? Like you were knowledgeable about the power of Makabu over 10 years, and
right.
You had a relationship with a funding source through the powers. You had a chemist who kind of knew how to manipulate some of the resources that you had, and Correct. You have a story behind how you actually bring the seaweed into the United States. How do you bring the product in 2 years to the market, to consumers?
So we had already created the formulas, and I had just 3 years ago put immersed fresh Makabu powder, because it goes from the oceans to the seaweed manufacturer that's 80 years in business, family run. And they wash it, cleanse it, dry it, dehumidify it, and technologically powder it down. And then that powder is shipped to the United States, and then it is infused into each formula. So all of we did a ton of testing as well in focus groups. There were many different paths that were working at the same time. Lynn is the CEO. She's a partner. She co-founder. She came from the world of advertising 30 years. Last job was CEO of J. Walter Thompson, New York. Incredibly down-to-earth woman, super smart, super savvy, and we both run a mile a minute. Yeah. So we get along very well. We also know how to divide and conquer. Her role is more about the digital side and the analytics side of building out the brand and the North Star and our mission. For me, as part of the team and co-founder, was my formulas, and that I am an explorer. I am a caregiver. I am someone that loves to share and also wanted to bring something of tremendous value to the U.S. market that was already being tapped into as far as our love for Asian cuisine and Japanese food in particular, and the qualities of those ingredients that come from Asia. So 3 years ago, we started forming the company with the North Star. And then Lynn and I and our digital analytics team started building out the platform of the D2C business. And at the same time, we were building out photography for the website. Packaging was being created. All of that was being executed. I was working with packaging companies all over the world. We were working with Joe Doucette. He was awarded the Smithsonian Award for 2018 for packaging design. He designed our logo treatments and our brand for us. And I went in pursuit of the packaging globally. I'm an entrepreneur, and it's intuitive for me to do these things. It's second nature for me. And somehow, some reason, I don't question it, and I just know how to make it happen. And I've watched it all since growing up in beauty companies. I've watched it all across the board, and the timelines it takes, and the production. So I worked with vendors in the production side. Lynn was managing the digital side and the analytics and the building out of the website. I was shooting product, and I was bringing her imagery, and we did photo shoots underwater in California with models so we could get imagery up on the site that you see, because we wanted to shoot underwater instead of out of the water. Why? Makabu, ocean botanical, and we come from the ocean. Yeah. So it was all of that. So it was creative, and it was the digital side, building that up. We launched in February of last year, but we spent 3 months before that soft launching to build out somewhat of a platform of our friends and family and colleagues in business, for lack of better words. Yeah. And then we did a formal launch in February during Fashion Week, and 2 designers. We did 2 shows with Notori and with another small group they're all about sustainable fashion, Adalinda, Adalinda. So we launched ourselves. We were D2C, and we started automatically doing social on Instagram, on Facebook, on Pinterest, on Twitter. Lynn manages all of those. And we were managing our own distribution. So we had some really good opportunities for distribution last year as well, but they just fell off because of the situation in our country. But Lynn and I and our team, we also have somebody who works with blogs. Blogs are super important. We weekly blogs that are on the site, but more importantly is the stories that you're going to talk about, the self-care stories. We immediately immersed ourselves in self-care. Why? It's something I feel strongly about. How do you self-care at home? How do you go about really deciding consciously over a period of time to go into your medicine cabinet, look at the ingredients on your labels and change that, and decide to go to a new shampoo for a starter, for an example, and how to not to use rubber bands in your hair, because all kinds of different things that we did. And we also partnerships with other like-minded cosmetic, skincare, lifestyle brands, like a ramen restaurant we partnered with, and fantastic results out of that, driving sales to the site. It's really key to focus on developing partnerships with like-minded brands and knowing where to get the information in order to make that happen. And that's Lynn. I'm certainly inspiring behind everything that I do, in participation, the marketing, the business development, the production side of the business. But I'm also extremely focused right now. What I've been focused on alone is we launched 4 products. Mm-hmm. So the shampoo, low foaming, beautiful product, thick. All the products are thick. A conditioner that is light, that goes in deep, but you get this softness and manageability and shine and very few hairs. That's just mom's fault. DNA. We say.
So for everybody who's listening, we're both bone people. Oh, there you go. Yes.
The top of the head, everybody, not on the back.
Yeah.
It's still there. So, because that's where I put the styling cream. And the Shine Serum is no oil, no water. I wanted lightweight, but I wanted you to be able to style your hair with it. Yeah. So it's got protection in it, but also it's got so much hydration from Makabu. But then we have a styling cream, and you don't need a pomade, a wax, a gel. I wanted something versatile that guys could use, that women can use. By the way, the brand is gender neutral, of course.
Love it.
And yeah, and 40% of our customers are men and 60% are women right now. But the repeat purchase rate is going up. It's gone from 28, 30, 31, 32 now. Nice. So it's just increasing. So Lynn is really whipping. And we have a team also that helps her with the social on a daily basis on Instagram, Facebook. But, that's the parameters. That's what it took. And also, we needed to get distribution last year, which we did. We went in the summer to Spoke and Wheels Group. It's a group of salons that is very premium, super cool, a very cool mentality, mission, natural hair color by Aveda, but Christine, who does color, she's a god. And the pricing's between $600 and $1,000. Yeah. And the men's cuts he's incredible. He's a guru. His name is John, and he's been doing dry cut for years, but he's an education guy. He's an ambassador to a major brand that we know. And they took Masami last year because they love the performance of the products. They love the branding. They understand. They love the stories, which it's fact. And I'm one of the few people that actually spent so many years working as a photo shoot producer in-house and on set with so many models. Yeah. So we built out this thing. Spoke and Wheel we launched. Dream Dry is another group we launched in, and a few other really cool salons. One in Philadelphia that's vegan. Another one in Shelter Island. Nikki Agnelli, who's a famous hair and makeup artist, she launched her salon last June, and she just keeps buying product.
So I have a question, like in terms of like the part, you say partnerships are really important, right? And so I'm just thinking for people that are trying to introduce a new product into the market, I mean, this is a game changer, it sounds like, for shampoo products and the 4 products you've developed. So partnerships are a piece of it, but what are some of the other elements you have in place to do the education components to consumers?
I'm on Amazon Live.
Yeah.
We were on Amazon maybe as of 5-6 months ago, I think.
Okay.
So bad with time. Amazon Live came about in Thanksgiving of last year when we could launch on their platform, because I think they were just beginning to do it.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure, but I think so. And we launched Amazon Live, but I was already on TalkShop Live and several other platforms. Okay. So I could practice from a beginner, because don't forget this. I've always been behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm a photo shoot producer. I'm discreet, except when I'm with the talent itself and I'm managing a shoot. Mm-hmm. But otherwise, I'm very discreet, and I'm behind the scenes, and I listen, I watch, and observe. That's a lot of what I did to absorb what I knew I could bring to the table with Lynn and digital analytics people in order to build this machine,
right,
which it's blooming and blossoming. So I would say if you're launching a new product, skincare is so saturated. And also ethnic markets are growing tremendously, especially here in the United States, which is awesome. But you've got to think creatively, and you got to be out of the box about things. I really think one needs to just find like-minded brands, indie beauty brands that you can look up, and there are places you can go to get that information and to help you to be able to pick brands and see if they want to work with you. And if they do, great. Some brands didn't want to work with us because we were too small. And what benefit was it for them? Right. So we try for brands sometimes that are a handbag brand, perhaps, that's super luxurious and beautiful skin, and the stories in the background is very much aligned with ours, or somebody who has a ramen shop, and we look at their following, and we look at who's following and the diversity of the following, and then how it attaches to us, because we have a Makabu and Masami, and our logos are all Japanese too, except for the main logo. So you got to find synergies that work best for you to help you build your network. And there are places to go to find that information out, which I think Lynn would kill me if I shared any. Yeah. And building your social, you should be doing that. You should be doing that even before you're building the brand. Yeah. If it's you that's putting this out there, You want to take full advantage of building your own company on, or your name, or you personally, or taking a different name, a company name, and creating your own path and building out who you want to follow and how to build and grow. I spent a lot of time working on these different platforms during the weeks, on certain days during the week, certain times on the weekends. And Amazon Live is one that I love doing, and I do it twice a week. I do Shop Lit Live, I do Spin Live, and they're all fun platforms. Shop Lit Live is a brand new platform, but they do, for example, a Valentine's thing where you're able to showcase and they preview you so you can, and you go live and you see people. So since I was going to say, I was behind the scenes and now I'm always in front. And now I have to sell my own. I don't sell anything. I talk about my products. I talk about the brand. I talk about our mission. I talk about the ingredients, and I share with you the benefits.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to sell you anything.
Yeah.
It's there. And the proof is there.
Yeah, well, it's clear. I mean, you're very passionate about this. And so I think that these are really helpful tips for people who have products around thinking about Amazon Live, Shop Live.
Your branding.
Branding
is very important.
Right. Yeah. And building those relationships with, right before we got going with our interview, different social media influencers who like the product, who use it, who find value, all of those things are really important. Something that you had mentioned that I wanted to explore a little bit more was in February of 2020, you launch. And that was a month before, at least in Oregon, where we shut down and preparing for the pandemic and trying to limit the spread. And your product is coming from Japan. So how did that impact?
Our product isn't coming from Japan, only the ingredients.
The powder.
Powder said, I'm sorry.
Right. So how did did shipping the powder, did that have any impact in your launch or?
The powder was already here, but I have ordered many times from many different suppliers for different bottles and different closures. And even looking at new sustainable ingredients and also packaging. For example, we have a ceramic bottle that we're launching now. It's been in development for 3 months so that it's refillable 32-ounce ceramic bottle, stainless steel pumps for shampoo and conditioner. They're coming over from Asia right now.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I always go to 3 different vendors to see who I feel intuitively is going to be able to work with me well and is going to tell me the truth, which you never know, and is going to have a great product. So that's what we did. We ordered these bottles and they're actually on a boat now coming over. But we haven't had any problems. We haven't had any problems with the taxation issue either, none whatsoever from anywhere in the world, because we've looked up and found our own shipping companies, and I've found like 4 or 5, and I've been working with 2 of them. So if you know what you're looking for, also, Alibaba is a great tool if you're looking for packaging directly from manufacturers over there in Asia. Yeah. It's a great tool, superb tool. There's so many options, and one shouldn't be afraid. You can get samples of anything.
So that's really good to hear in terms of the pandemic not really having the impact that, for some businesses... And in particular,
launching. I did have a problem getting I am having problems with, and I have had problems with getting certain lids that I need. And we don't make anything in the United States. Yeah. But apparently I found out that we make some of the bottles that I use. So I bought them here, thank God. I lucked out. But no one tells you anything. And also, nothing is set up over here for small business at all. Yeah. Yep. And I mean small business, small startup. Where you're making, that's why my chemists in Chicago are so important, because they're small, they do small batches. So if we started off with 3,500 10-ounce bottles of shampoo and conditioner and Shine Serum and styling cream. We didn't start off with 50,000 or 5,000. And I keep explaining that every time I'm opening a conversation up with a potential new vendor, so that they can psychologically really understand that I don't have $1 million.
Right. Yep.
But I have to say we are doing very well. And I think it's a combination of our promotions, our partnerships. Definitely, I mean, Lynn does a lot of podcasts, but everything that we are doing socially is responsible, and it involves building out the core of what we truly feel to be is an incredible, incredible brand. And we know it is, actually. So we're focused on how do we do that? And how many opportunities can we go and look at?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
We're doing Instagram with the Forum Group, which has 3 stores across in LA, Palo Alto, and New York City, in Hudson Yard, actually, where Neiman Marcus just left.
Mm-hmm.
So we're doing Instagram shows. So there's a lot. And they need to pull themselves out socially. If they're behind a bush, pull yourself out and say hi.
Exactly. Well, I love the advice that you gave on establishing relationships with vendors, in particular vendors on different continents, basically. And you had said, the feeling of, what that relationship would feel like, in addition to having a great product, and how vendors operate. But, that magic number of 3, just kind of evaluating, 3 different vendors that before
you have
making
to,
that
because
decision.
you just don't know.
Yeah.
Pricing, quality. Are they lying?
Yeah.
Send me the product so I can test it.
Right. Yeah.
Don't be afraid to ask questions. Really.
Yeah.
I mean, my whole career, the one person that was believing in me the whole time was myself.
Yep.
There
100%.
isn't anybody else. It's a very lonely journey. And I didn't have family supporting me. The only other person was Masahiro, when he met me and he started to believe in me and believe in the brand. We only got married 4 years ago. So there was a long time of getting to know you. But at the same time, look what we're doing. So I want to inspire, but I also want people to, to feel like they can do. And there is big opportunity.
Yeah.
You just got to believe in what you're doing 1,000,000%, and not let anybody tell you any differently. And also be open.
Yes. So on that point, let's kind of shift a little bit to, the lived experiences that you've gained from being a part of our rainbow family, being in the LGBTQ community. And, just like in terms of your own lived experiences, in terms of superpowers, like, do you feel like from being a part of the LGBTQ community that you've gained a different way of engaging with people, and in particular in business, that allows you to stand out in the work that you're doing, because you're a part of us. You're a part of LGBT entrepreneurs.
I would say this from my own experience, my whole life. I've always been gay. I knew when I was 8.
Yeah.
So it was very hard to deal with that. I don't know how I did, actually, on many, many times, but I found my way. And the one thing I have to say is, if I needed something, really needed something, the gay community was there. The doctors, the clinic I've been going to for 29 years, or 26 years, sorry. It's LGBT. I'm always very comfortable. I feel trust, respect, and I don't worry. But generally speaking, I don't worry anyway, but there in that environment, I'm very comfortable. Those doctors are very communicative and open, which I prefer. So I've had that since I've lived in New York. So I don't know, I can't speak to anything else. But I would say that I'm the one who reached out when I worked for some of the big companies. I'm the one who reached out to AmFAR to create a relationship with them. And I brought the full support of Clairol with me in terms of, let's do their invitations, which were 9, 10 sided cards. Let's find a new way to bring in some celebrities in order to bring this up a notch or two and bring in more funding. How do we bring the teams, which was a problem, where there were always people on a board that, it was the Young Executive Committee, and I was one of the co-chairs, and you under AmFAR, and some of the people, their motives were different. And my motive was to bring in money to build a tremendous event, like 4 or 5 times a year, expand the press and the PR and the dollars and expand who's coming. And that's what I did for AmFAR for a few years. But like anything, you can get disheartened. And I got disheartened with the board members who just blatantly were using it for their own objectives. So I walked. That's how I am. And I've also worked with many other organizations on my own. And I've done things privately on my own, which I don't talk about because it's just personal. But I would say New York has allowed me to be confident in who I am as a gay male human being.
Yeah.
As well as, who I am as a person already is there. But they helped me with the confidence, and it's helped me with the growth of my own inner self. People are people. everybody has their shortcomings. Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody learns through each other. I am certainly comfortable in any environment in working and living, but New York has provided me a very secure place to be and to be who I am freely without having to worry whether or not, someone is going to gay bash me because I'm being too loud, which, you can appreciate.
Absolutely.
So
yeah.
I just think that this is a great city, and the support systems from the LGBT community across the board, not just the center downtown, but so many of them are forefront leaders. And I have to say, corporations, I'm so glad that so many more corporations, smaller and different, are joining in in supporting these communities. So that's a really big deal. And I'm glad the way things are going right now in terms of efforts to maintain I'm married. I don't want that to be messed with.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I think what you're sharing too, just going back to that superpower of our communities, right? Like when we have a challenge that whether we are in New York City or in Peoria, Illinois, we find each other. We want to lift each other up, right? I mean, we know that.
We want to inspire each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
At the center, there's a group at the center in New York. It's the large in 13th Street. It's the largest place there is for us to learn and educate ourselves, but also come together as a community on many levels. They have a nonprofit group called Legal, where lawyers come and you can get free advice. I mean, people don't have this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there are places to go that are LGBT where if you don't have health insurance, the AA will help you get it immediately, or they'll take care of you through their nonprofit. But you've got to look and you've got to know where to go, and you have to talk to people just like anything.
Yeah. Yeah. The infrastructure that's there in New York is incredible. And kind of the future that we're entering into, we're able to find each other, in particular in pandemic times, a little bit easier through kind of online forums. So kind of that barrier to feeling supported if you are in Peoria, Illinois. Sorry to pick on you if you're listening from there, right? But the access to learning from leaders in New York City, right, is available to you.
It's available across the country. I mean, if you need any information, you can't find it locally, just log into the center. I forget what the full email address is, but that is LGBTHQ for the United States in New York. I would say it is. Yeah, you can research and you can find anything that you really need and reach out to people that you don't have to know anybody. Just reach out to people.
Yeah,
and you will find you'll find immediate support and help. There are a couple of times in my life here that I wish I had known better and to go to them, and I didn't. Yeah, things could have been different, but that's just the way it is.
Yeah, it's the community, the support is there, and when it comes to business as well.
Oh, absolutely.
You've got the NGLCC, you've got startup.
Seminars, there's professional organizations.
Absolutely.
To be honest with you, even the Small Business Administration here in New York City is so helpful and supportive. And also, there's money. Yeah. If you're starting something up and you have a plan together, there's grants you can get. You just got to look for them.
Yes, 100%. So the resources are there. The community is there. We've got amazing business owners like James offering advice of how he built it, and I think that's where we learn from each other. So James, last question for you is, knowing that there's a number of folks listening right now still thinking about their big idea. They know the big problem they want to solve. They've got an idea, but they haven't yet taken that entrepreneurial leap. What would be your advice to encourage them to believe in themselves and take that next step?
Well, confidence. You have to have confidence in yourself and what you're doing. If your friends tell you have a great product and you really believe you do, and you're talking to people down the road and you think you have a good product, like me with my shampoo. Yeah. I knew that I was coming up with something good, but I just gave it to people and they tried it. And then their feedback was tremendous.
Yeah.
So that's how I knew. And I kept writing down that feedback until I had a situation that I did where Lynn and Bill wanted to come in. And then I already had my plan, which was the benefits, the ingredients, consciously chosen why. And then the partnership, they started to pull out the pieces about why James, why Masa, why Northeast Japan. I mean, why this beautiful ingredient? Why, how do we get this incredible brand up? That's and your background in the world. So you have to empower yourself. Mm-hmm. and ignore everybody and ignore negativity.
Yeah.
Just cut it out. Cut the negativity out if you have to. Focus on what's good, and don't be afraid to learn. Listen, ask questions.
Yes.
That's why we're here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we are growing, and Masami is growing. So,
well, there you go. You might find some other folks out there ready to explore partnerships.
I'm sure there's a lot of people out there trying to do just that. I have a couple of girlfriends who are trying to build their own brands right now, and I told them, do you have the packaging? No. So you've already got formulas, but you have no packaging.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to really create your North Star first, and your name and your branding, and then the key points about on that product of what and why that product does what it does and why you have to buy it.
Yes, 100%. It's very clear that you know your North Star, and you've got a great product, and I'm sure there's people listening right now who want to test it out and try it. So where would you encourage them to check that out?
Several places. Gosh, you can go to lovemasami.com, or you can go to Amazon, which is great. You can also go on to Spin Live, and you can buy it there. You'll also find discounts on Spin Live right now because I'm doing a promotion there. And over Valentine's Day, we're doing promotions as well. So look out for that next week, and they'll be all posted because we're on LinkedIn, Facebook. So everything will be posted if you follow us at Love Masami Hair. That would be brilliant. You'll see us on Instagram, Facebook. Lynn's on Twitter all the time. I am not. That's a handful.
Well, it sounds like you're in a lot of places, and yeah. I have a hunch that a number of folks listening right now are curious, and I encourage you to check it out because
she was so good for you.
Yes, yeah, I might use it for my beard. I don't know.
Absolutely, sound cream is amazing on your beard.
Nice.
We're actually coming out with one.
Okay.
A beard balm, but not now.
Yes. Okay. Well, I'm looking out for it. And I loved our time together. I think that this is going to be a really good episode for those folks really considering you've got an idea for a physical product that you want to manufacture. And there's several steps that you've been able to just kind of walk us through to dial it in a little bit more and to try to get it out into the world, the vision, the idea, the product that you want to share. So James, thank you again for being here. And for everybody who's tuned in, thank you so much. We come at you every Tuesday morning. So keep listening and keep showing up as authentically as you want in your work, in your life. And I'll talk with you soon.